It's a good day for a great day. It's Christy Kennedy, Women's Worth and Wellness expert, your massive momentum mentor.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Christy Kennedy, Women's Worth and Wellness expert. I am so excited to bring to you a beautiful guest today, the author of Conscious Communication, Mary Shores. She is going to be giving us some divine insights on how she has moved from stuck to unstoppable. We know that many of us find ourselves in a place where we just don't know what to do next. And Candid Conversations is all about helping you see the light at the end of your dark tunnel. Without further ado, we're going to bring Mary on, and she's going to tell us a few things that we need to know to be our most powerful self. Welcome, Mary. How's it going?
Christy, so nice to be here. How are you doing today?
I am excited to have you on today, and I tell you, it's been a very peaceful day until I did my makeup, and I had this gold shirt on, and paint got all over me. I'm like, ah! And then I thought about your book, and I calmed myself down. It's not the end of the world. I can change shirts, but my husband, who has a cold, he fought for me and got the stain out. And so we are here. So all those little things that happen behind the scenes, and that's what we're going to talk about today. It's a girl's world. Never a dull moment.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's always good when you have first world problems.
I'm telling you. It shows us what we're made of, and it keeps us humble, keeps us on our toes. And like right before the show, painting nails. And so I always allow people to see that as women and Wonder Women, that we are just as normal as they are. So I'm really looking forward to talking about where you've come from and how did you get here as the author of Conscious Communication. Can you just give us a snippet, that backdrop of your story? Because when I was reading, oh my goodness, now I'm looking at, how graceful you look right now, but people don't know what you've had to endure to become this thought leader.
They really don't. And it's amazing because especially since people have been reading the book, and I don't just mean women, but like men as well, they repeatedly say to me, Mary, I had no idea that you had been through any of that because, I think a lot of times as leaders and entrepreneurs, you live in a certain world where you're not encouraged to share the tragedies.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I started writing the book that I really had to get vulnerable, transparent, and I really made a decision that nothing was off limits as far as my past. And so I actually was out on my own at a very young age. I was only 16 when my mother got remarried, and I guess I was not part of that package, it was not that devastating. I was kind of, it was more like freedom. It felt like freedom. So it was okay. But when a few years later, I had a child when I was only a child myself at 19. And that little girl her name is Haley. She had severe, profound brain damage. And she just only lived a short while, a year and a half. But in that year and a half, my boyfriend and I, at the time, we were living in and out of children's hospitals. We were seeing things that you just can never unsee. Children that are burn victims, cancer unit, car accidents. It was really a scary and traumatizing situation. When I look at pictures of myself from that time period, I have zero facial expression, and it's like it's true. I'm just gone. It was a total post-traumatic stress type of situation. And so after she passed away, I was still young, but I felt like I had already lived through many lifetimes at this point. So I just picked up the pieces and had to move on. And I opened a business at a very young age and just sort of started picking up the pieces of my life.
My goodness. And I think about when you say I was so young, and a lot of people don't bounce back, especially, I think about when I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even have the mental faculty, the capacity to move in my mind. You know, you're not fully developed. You're not a full woman. You know, you had to grow up really fast.
I really did. And I look at, because my children, I have 2 sons and they are 16 and 17. And I look at they can't even make something to eat in the microwave, Christy. I don't know if it's because they're boys or they just know mom will do it.
Oh.
There's no way these 2 would be out on their own. I don't know what would happen.
It's a different generation.
It is a different generation. That is true. But I can just tell you that I don't know. I have no explanation as to how I got through that time. In fact, I'm not even sure that I did. You know, I was not thriving. I was certainly had no joy. But what I learned, it's really about what you learn. Because, Christy, the most empowering and impactful and beautiful thing about your story is in how you moved on. It's in the moment where you moved on. Because when I think about it, and I do think about this stuff, like, people would say to me, like, how did you start this business at 24 years old? You know, how did you do this? How did you do that? And it's like, well, I've already been through so much in life that I think my risk tolerance is like this big.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Like, I love to talk about entrepreneurial risk tolerance.
Oh my!
Because it is, I was able to be out of my comfort zone. And I was like fearlessly and boldly moving in the direction of the things that I wanted to create in life.
I love that. Oh, honey, fearlessly, boldly moving in the direction of creating what I want. And I think about so many ladies come to me, Mary, and that's the number one thing. They're afraid of moving. But it's something about when you go through tragedy, I don't know, it just rips you of all of that stuff that holds you back. And it's like you said, you had to get vulnerable with yourself, to get raw and get real.
That's right.
My goodness. So your passion for neuroscience, where did that come in? Was it in the midst of this tragedy?
Yes. So that was in 1992. And I would say that, you know, back then there wasn't Google. So
okay. Where were we without Google?
I mean, maybe there was like a little tiny bit of AOL, but not really. So I had to go to the library.
What?
And yes.
The library.
I would go to the library and I just believed in my heart that I could find something that would cure my daughter of this diagnosis. And turns out I was right, but we were many years away from the kind of technological advances that it would take to reverse the level of brain damage. And only now are we studying enough about like stem cells and, you know, brain regeneration to understand what we can do with it. But also, then when I got married later in life and my son was diagnosed with autism, I really had to understand what it was like, what life was going to mean, you know, and it was a difficult thing, but I also just became obsessed with neuroscience because of that. And in like this idea that I'd always been like a super science nerd. I wanted to know everything about astronomy, astrophysics, all of that stuff. But I had this really extreme, like spiritual side too. And what I thought and what I believed and I wanted to develop, especially with my writing, was that science and spirituality are talking about the same things. It's like we're at this crossroads where we're finally in the same place, but they're talking about the same things, Christy, but they're using 2 different languages.
Okay.
You know, so neuroscience will say all the same things that spirituality will say, but it just uses different words. And I think that it's the language that keeps people separated.
Wow. My goodness. And I would love for you to even just go into that further, because when I was reading your book, and you talk about the power of words and how we know can create our reality and create a different reality. And you talk about being awake and aware. Can you speak to the person who is not awake yet, not aware of this language that we should be using and should not be using? Because you talk about the words not to be using.
So I'm going to tell you how this is so powerful, okay? And it is so true. And it is the reason why in every spiritual practice and every religion, you know, we use prayer, we use gratitude, we use meditation, you know, we use all these things that are pointing us in this direction.
Yeah.
But the words that you say are literally going out into the universe, and it is creating. And the reason it's creating is because of the way that your neural pathways work inside your subconscious mind. Now, I'll just tell you like my own story of this, okay? Because a lot of people think that, oh, Mary must have it right with her words, but no. No, I still have to remind myself, you know? So I had this burning desire for many, many years that I wanted to write a book. And the thing is, I would even go around and anybody that I could find, I would say, I want to write a book, but I'm not a writer. Okay. And people would hear me. In fact, I didn't even realize how many people I had said this to. And then when the book came out, everybody was like, oh yeah, you told me that, 8 years ago. And I was like, I did. But okay. So here's the thing. Words are a mirror to your subconscious programming. And it's like the words, I want to write a book. It's like you're seeing it written on my soul.
I love that.
That this is my purpose to write this book. And I want to talk later about purpose because we've got plenty of time. And I feel like, everyone wants to talk about purpose these days. But, so it's also, though, that the words, but I'm not a writer. Okay. That is also a mirror to my subconscious. And what it's doing is it's revealing to me that somewhere, somehow, I have developed a belief system. Deep down inside, I did not believe that I could write a book. Now, that kept me away from my dream and my desire for years. And so I had to invest in myself.
Right there.
First of all, how many words was I going to write down on a piece of paper as long as I was saying I was not a writer?
Come on.
No, exactly. So I had to invest in myself. And I did that. And what I did was I started going to like a writer's workshop.
Okay.
And it was really intimidating in the beginning. All right. It's not like poof, I was a writer. It was very intimidating because all the other people at the workshop were, they were already writers.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? Like they were screenwriters. Cheryl Strayed, the best-selling author, was the teacher. And so it was intimidating. I got through it. And by the end of that week, I wrote a short story that it was a story about my daughter who passed away. It was a story about my son on the autism spectrum and just like how lonely my world was that I was raising this son without a rule book. And it was also a story about my roller coaster life as an entrepreneur. And when I read this story, tears choking up, running down my face. Nobody laughed at me. Nobody criticized what I had wrote. In fact, they were coming up to me saying, wow, like, your story impacted me. And that's what it's like having this book because my story is impacting so many people and it's making a difference. And so that's the beginning of how you have to invest in yourself so that you gain the skill set to overcome those barrier beliefs.
My goodness.
Take action in the direction of where you want to go.
I love that. I'm so glad you touched on your story, and it's simple as our story, and so many of us, and I've been there too. It's like we want to share pieces of ourselves, but when you get really real and raw, vulnerable, and you go in those deep places, because that's where the healing begins in you, and then it can happen in somebody else. I had a friend girl who was just recently talking about she sits at the computer and exactly what you're talking about and just blankly stares at the screen. And then she said, I don't feel like I'm good enough. And then next I heard, I'm paralyzed. And so I had to break that word down. Why do you feel paralyzed and what paralyzed actually means? And then remind her of all the ways she's moved before. So do you still feel paralyzed? And we have to unearth those thoughts, as you call them, barrier beliefs. I love that.
Yeah, you know, I love what your friend, the word she used was paralyzed, because I would say things like that too. I would say, like, I feel like I'm walking through mud, you know, like that everything just is so stuck. Or I would say, I feel like I'm walking downstairs and someone's just kicking the stairs out from under me as I'm going. You know, it's a feeling when you're out of control. You know, you started the show talking about like when you're in that dark tunnel. Yeah. And in the book, I describe it as being in like a dark hole. You know, that you're in this hole, you can't see, you feel completely stuck. And what happens is, you know, when you get into that level of unsurmounting desperation or stress, it does feel like you can't make a move. You're paralyzed. I love her word. And I think all too often, I have this term, I call these people the law of attraction language police.
Okay.
You're like, okay, tell me about it. So these are the people who want to correct your words without listening. All right. Because what you did for her was you listened. And then what you also did, which from a neurological perspective is the perfect thing, because you reminded her of times in life when she got through this. So Christy, when you revisit a past triumph in your life, what is happening is in your brain, and I'm sure you've seen like brain scans and stuff where it's like all the stuff is lighting up. Well, what you did when you reminded her of that was you connected her to places in her brain that had created a win in the past. And this works. Have you ever noticed, like, sometimes men are good at this. Like if they tell the story about when they caught the big fish, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
like
ma'am.
Every time when they go back and tell the story, the fish gets bigger.
Oh.
And, you know, the story grows over the years. And next thing you know, like they got this 10-foot fish or something.
Love it.
But the reason the reason they get so excited is because what's happening inside their brain and body is when they're telling the story. So when we tell the story of our empowering things in our life, what's happening is our brain and our body is recreating all of the excitement and the joy that we felt in the moment that it happened originally. It's the best advice you could have given her.
Oh, wow. I love it. I got chills just listening to you talk about it. Yay. I say creating these win-win situations. And I'm ready to start talking even more, create some stories around my house listening to you. But let's talk about the fight and flight syndrome. You know, when somebody's in that place and they're battling, you know, what's going on? Can you walk us through that process?
Sure. So, you know, when we learn it in school, it's fight, flight, or freeze.
Okay.
And so when your friend was saying she was paralyzed, that's really the freeze. Okay. Now, the fight or flight is like, it's that when you get stimulated to something that makes you feel like you have to come out swinging.
Okay.
And when I first started working in this sort of like area about the nervous system, it was because I developed this customer service training. And I knew that there were certain words that would always trigger your customers to argue with you. Because, like, think about it. Think about the last time that you had to call the cell phone company or that you had to call the cable company and you were happy, like you were probably more frustrated at the end of the call.
Yeah. Because
they very seldomly help you, right? And it makes you irritated.
Yeah.
And that feeling, that's fight or flight. Okay. Or that feeling when you know you have to have a conversation with so-and-so and you are dreading it,
Right there.
that is fight or that is the feeling I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay. And the thing is, like, that we don't maybe have an awareness of is that in today's world, we are overstimulated. You know, we've constantly got notifications going off. We've got noise everywhere. We live in a noisy place. And so all of this is hitting our bodies constantly. And what it's doing is it's creating stress chemicals to continually flow through our body. And those stress chemicals keep us sort of in this irritable state of mind. You know, and when you're irritable, you're going to be way more focused on your fears. Yesterday was Halloween, and I was so excited about the newsletter we did, because it was about how your childhood fears turn into your adult fears.
Ooh,
you know, like your childhood fears about the boogeyman turn into your adult fears about like your mortgage payment.
Come on.
All right. And then those fears drive your behaviors.
Ooh.
And then your behaviors create your habits. And then your habits form your personality. And if that is all fear-based and stress-based, what you're doing is you're walking around and you're like tense and uptight, and your face is like clenched. And I know, because my face gets clenched a lot. So
I get it right here in my neck.
Yeah. You feel it in your body. It stores in your body.
Yeah.
So that's why things like taking care of yourself, like understanding that self-care is not selfish. It's necessary. It's non-negotiable.
Ooh, say it.
Yeah. You gotta like go to that yoga class or get that massage and take that bubble bath, because it's good for you.
Oh, it is so good. It's so good. Okay, so you're going to have to start talking about your Zen 10 in a minute. But I was there. When I was younger, Mary, as an entrepreneur, I was all about the grind and sleeping 3-4 hours a night. And, you know, you got bragging rights, right? Who does that? But I ended up in the hospital because I was so dehydrated from traveling state to state. I had to drink caffeine. So it was always tea and soda. Was not drinking water. And I didn't know where this pain was coming from. So I'm in the hospital, I have a kidney stone. But that for me was my wake up call. Like, okay, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, if I'm going to be a businesswoman, I am going to have to incorporate wellness into my life. Like you said, it's non-negotiable. And so I am a different woman 20 years later, because I want to last in this place and I want to be happy. I want to have the energy, all of that. So can you talk about the Zen 10 that you cover, self-care?
It is so true. And I just want to acknowledge you that you went through that and that you paid attention to what the messages your body was sending you. Because same thing, girl, let me tell you something. When I gave birth to my son, this was in the year 2000.
Okay.
Right? He's 17 now. I went back to work when he was 4 days old. So I literally, like, I had a nursery. I'm divorced now, but my husband at the time, he built a nursery into my little office that I had. And I think I was 27 years old. And I scooped him up when he was 4 days old, had been out of the hospital like a day and a half. And I ran my business, and I took him to work, and I was breastfeeding the whole thing. I could barely walk, but I took my butt to work. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, so I'm just saying I identify with this, like this persona that you're talking about. In the book, I talk about in chapter 8, which is called Becoming Who You Really Are. And the way that I say that, because I think that it's like, it's really time to start having a conversation about authenticity. And I was talking about it like this. If I had to pick like a character that I admired, one of the characters that I would go to was Scarlett O'Hara.
Okay.
But see, here's the thing about Scarlett. Like, she is business brilliant.
Teacher.
You know, she is like sexy. She's got it going on. She knows how to take care of her business. But also, her life is such a struggle, you know, and she's always got this drama. And so what I realized was I did not want to be Scarlett anymore, because I was exhausted.
Come on.
Exhausted. So after like 2 kids, running a business, a divorce, like getting all the success in the world, but if you don't have meaning and fulfillment in your life, if you don't have a mission, like a personal passion project,
Yeah.
then you're going to exhaust yourself, and it's bad. So the Zen 10 is all about you creating a non-negotiable self-care routine for yourself. And I wanted to start simple because I have to keep things simple for myself. But it's just you pick something once a week,
Okay.
once a month, and once a day that you're going to do for yourself, that it's non-negotiable.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't mean you do this if everything else gets done. Like a reward. It's not like that. It's the opposite. This is non-negotiable. So whether it is 20 minutes alone to sit down and have a cup of tea and read a book. One of them is laughter, because like neuroscience is showing that laughter, something as small as 20 minutes of laughter will affect the gene expression of 23,000 genes in your body. Laughter is so important. And it creates, yes, it creates massive dopamine and serotonin.
Oh my goodness.
So some other things, really it's up to you what you enjoy, and just doing that.
And just doing that and giving ourselves permission to do it, because I know there are women that are going to say, let me tell you, girlfriend, I have all these things going on in my life. I'm a mother, and like, we know we're running businesses and it takes a lot of energy, but you must, it's non-negotiable. Last week I was at a trampoline jumping place called Sky Zone, and I was jumping. Oh my gosh, I had so much energy. And it was 8:30 at night. I ended up doing a teaching. Someone asked me if I could speak to a mastermind group, but I was bouncing through the roof. And it's like, they're like 8:30 at night on a Monday night. You have all this energy, but it's because I'm investing in my self-care. And so I have more energy than the average person. And
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's the secret there.
It really is. So that's one thing that you would just make a massive difference in your life if you can adopt that as a practice for yourself.
Awesome. Well, we are getting ready to end, and this has been a rich conversation. But before we close out, I just want you to have an opportunity to speak to our listeners, our audience, and talk about, the book in your words, where they can find it. We are offering a complimentary workbook. So if you could just describe that, and I will put the link up for everyone to be able to purchase, because as you can see, this is so powerful. You need this in your life. Believe you me, I know I've been impacted just by sitting on it just for the past month, and it has shifted the way I think and the way I do life. It's all yours, Mary.
Thank you. Well, the whole purpose of the book is to guide you to shift your mindset by creating the neural networks in your subconscious that are going to connect you to the things in life that you want. Because, we all have infinite possibilities, and I think that we understand that. But infinite possibilities doesn't necessarily mean that you're connecting to the good things in life, because so often we are flowing in the chaos of stress and overwhelm. And so the book can teach you, how do you connect yourself to create a deep connection to the things that you want instead of the things that you don't want. And it's going to take you through a step-by-step process and show you how, through the power of words, that's just one thing, but through the power of your inner strength, how you can change your mind, your choices, and your life. So the book is available on Amazon. It's called Conscious Communications, Your Step-by-Step Guide to Harnessing the Power of Your Words to Change Your Mind, Your Choices, and Your Life. This companion guide is amazing because it has all of the personal development challenges in the book mapped out. So it's a 36-page journal. It has everything already laid out and outlined the way that you need it to be, so that you can just go through the book and fill it in. It even has all the page numbers that the exercises refer to, because so many people don't want to write in their books.
I love it. Absolutely. I was looking at one of the exercises, 100 things you like about yourself. Write those out. especially for women, because I work with a lot of women who have low self-esteem issues. And so that is so powerful because we don't appreciate all the beauty that we add to this world. We're oftentimes picking ourselves apart. I remember when I had surgery and had 7 fibroid tumors removed. And I used to always say, I just want my body back. I just want my body back. I was severely anemic. Then I got these 4 scars. And I had to fall in love with these 4 scars on my belly because it's a part of the journey. You know, you take all of it in and embrace it because it makes you you.
It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. And yeah, that I just did a video on my Facebook page, just Mary Shores on Facebook, about the 100 Things list with the international relationship coach Dave Elliott. So anyone can go watch that video. We talk a little bit about the 100 Things list, but the 100 Things list is very interesting because you go through the list and you get to about, I don't know, 30 or 40, and you've already gone through all the superficial stuff, and you have to dig deep to figure out what is going on. And there was a lady here last week from the news who was here interviewing me, and she goes, Mary, when I was doing that list, she goes, my head kept itching. And she said, so I Googled it to find out why my head was itching. And she said that when you go through a process like that, what happens is you increase the blood flow to certain parts of your brain, and that increased blood flow makes your head itch. So there you go. Don't give up on the 100 Things list when you get to 20 or 30. It took me over a month, Christy, to write mine.
Oh, I love it. It is next on my little journaling assignment. And that's what you talked about. Before we close, I wrote down on your journal, you said, I truly believe in the intimacy of writing to yourself. It is the best way to really examine your own thoughts and actions. And if you would just share, where did you connect with writing initially? Because most writers, we do have a gift, even though if it's been buried, we don't know, it has to be awakened. But where did you find a love for journaling?
Well, I just had so much inside me. I have so much knowledge, you know, like I'm a person that I have dug deep into the world of personal development and spiritual development. So, I mean, I have read hundreds and hundreds of books. I've been to over probably 200, 300 seminars, workshops. I mean, I've done it all. And it's like, if I were to take a personality test, which I've done many, and that goes with purpose. It's like when you take a personality test, and this is the best way I know how to discover your purpose. Like mine was writing you know what, it gives you that list of your natural skills and abilities, your characteristics. Highlight those. And mine was like writing, teaching, entrepreneurial. So it's like, how do I take these gifts and serve the world? And that's how, is because like I just innately know so many things that I could share, and knowing that I could make an impact on the world. So it was something I had to do. I don't know that I enjoyed it, but I had to do it.
Oh my goodness. And I love what you said. I think that's a beautiful way to end our show. And how can I use my gifts and serve the world? Because if we focus on serving, all the fears, the disbelief, all that stuff, the barriers, they just become dismantled when we focus on how can I serve the world. Because I think about your story, my life has been impacted, so many others, millions, and it's going to be your gift that you leave behind after you're gone. And I think if we think about that, that will help us to get out of our own way.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here today. Any last word, maybe a favorite quote that you want to leave us with?
Well, one of my favorite quotes, I'm going to look up my workbook because the one I've been using. Okay, this goes along with what you said. So it's right here on the back of this beautiful guidebook. So it says, submit to the greatness within and let the greatness tell you where to go and what to do next. Mary Shores, page 202. Yay!
You got to get it. You got to have it. You need this in your library. We appreciate you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Live your best life and be conscious of the way you are communicating. Thank you again, Mary.
Thank you.